Welcome to What's Your Story. We're so glad to have you join us again. Today I've got a fabulous guest. His name is Matt Seltzer, and Matt is the author of this wonderful book, The Creative Catalyst. Now, I've read this book all the way through and I couldn't put it down. So welcome, Matt. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, so I'm going to say just, what's your story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you are a market and research and strategy consultant.
That's correct.
What does that mean to us?
So two big things that have to do with marketing. I do market research, which is surveys and focus groups and looking at data and answering questions. So that's research. Mm-hmm. And then strategy is doing something with the answers to those questions from a marketing perspective.
Great.
If we know our audience likes red, then it means we're making our brand logo red. That's doing something with our insights.
Ah, I like that. Now, you started out with one of the most prestigious marketing groups in the country.
Oh yeah, I've been fortunate to have a fun career. I started at a agency here in Las Vegas called R&R Partners, and that's its own funny story. But they're the agency that came up with the tagline "What happens here stays here."
Oh well, they've taken care of Vegas for years.
For years
and years. I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and first off, they're a neat place to work. I had a roommate at the time. We're going back to college now. That was he was an intern there, and he got me a foot in the door in their research team. And that's really relevant because I never thought I would be in research. I wanted to be a copywriter, and I still love to write. But what I found out is I really, really like this research concept of taking a lot of people's thoughts and attitudes and turning it into numbers or turning it into an analysis, and then again, doing something with it.
Yes, yes.
So that's where I started. I ended up freelancing with them for another 5 years while I did a few other things. I've worked at a few different agencies, a digital agency, a few different traditional agencies. And then going full circle with that, actually when my daughter was born, I went in-house at the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. So that is the actual company, What Happens Here Stays Here,
right,
that promotes the destination. And I was their senior research analyst for 4 years. And that was a really neat experience, especially because I'm a huge data geek. Like I love the concept of market research. And that destination marketing organization is unlike any other one on the planet because it's so research-led. I'll give you an example. They publish every year this report called the Las Vegas Visitor Profile Study.
Right.
I mean, that's a survey that's been in the field since the 70s. But here we are as a destination telling every business in our destination, every hotel, every airport or airline, every restaurant, here's how much visitors spend at a restaurant and how frequently they eat there. And you think about that kind of strategic intelligence, it makes our whole destination better.
Oh yes, it does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. Years ago, I was the first showgirl. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a showgirl, but they dressed me up as one, and that went with them to promote Las Vegas around the world.
Oh yeah.
And they still have those showgirls.
Yes,
that,
they do.
That do that, but. It was interesting because I got to learn a lot about how they promoted and how they did research and how they found out what they needed to know in order to go to these destinations and promote. And it was really an exciting time for me.
It's a neat concept that we're promoting. I mean, here in Las Vegas, promoting a destination, but it's a brand.
Yes.
And someone told me very serious once. Anyone who ever says that X sells itself, that person's never sold X.
You're right.
I mean, really, and it becomes that simple that you think anything that sells itself, no, that means a lot of work went into the background. And here we are, one of the most traveled to destinations on the planet. That doesn't just happen.
No, it doesn't.
So I was real fortunate to be part of that team for a long time before starting my current company.
Wow, that's amazing. And this company now is yours, right?
That's correct. S2 Research, Seltzer Strategic, S2. And we do exactly what I just said. We do the research component and the strategy component for a lot of brands and a lot of marketing teams that don't always have those capabilities in-house.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's been a fun journey. I'm going on year 3 now, and it's been great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you're also the president of the local marketing association.
The American
right?
Marketing Association,
American Marketing Association, yeah. That's a very prestigious organization.
And so I really like AMA. I was a member for years before I joined the board here locally and then became president this year. AMA's mission, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't know it offhand.
Yeah.
But the mission essentially says that we're going to promote our marketing industry in different cities because when marketing works better, economies grow. And we know that inherently. The whole point of marketing is to bring people together, to spend some money, to bring experiences together. But when you think of that holistically, that economies grow, that careers grow, that people in that field can grow their career, you see how it helps any kind of entity, but a city thrive, a community.
Right,
and
right.
yeah, I'm real thrilled to be a part of AMA, and then the president this year has been an honor because we've really changed up our programming this year. Enhance would be a better word for it, because we want to provide more value for our local marketing community, and we've done a real good job of that.
Yes, you have. You have. You really have.
Thank you.
I have some specific questions I wanted to ask you. How can a business do market research today to make their marketing better?
The simplest way, and I really encourage this, is to talk to people. And that may seem obvious, but you think about any kind of business, any business on the planet. You could be a law firm, you could be a burger chain. You have customers, and your customers have opinions, attitudes, and that could be everything from what brought them into your store or to your services or to your website, all the way to how was the experience and why would you want to be coming back to me? Because you always want a customer to come back,
right?
With a few exceptions in certain industries. But I guess that's the thinking there. When I mentioned surveys, I mentioned focus groups. These are great scientific ways to get to know people. But at their core, they're asking people questions.
Right.
And there's nothing less utilitarian about just asking your customers, hey, how was the experience today, versus a survey. They both serve the same purpose. One may be more intensive, but for a business to just start is literally to just start. And what's neat, there's kind of an appetite I've seen that gets there, where you get excited when you talk to 5 of your best clients or 5 of your worst clients or both, and you hear about what their journeys are. Then you start to say, oh, what if we did a survey and we could talk to 200 of people just like this and measure? You get that appetite, but it starts with literally asking questions, and we all know how to ask questions. We ask them. We're doing it right now.
Exactly, and it can't hurt at all, right, to have your employees just say to the customer, how was your experience?
Oh yeah.
And then give the feedback to management. And
we talk about operations a lot. I know a lot of really successful business owners who have made operations the reason that they're successful. And one of the number one things we hear about successful operations is that feedback loop that you just mentioned.
Yes.
And we start to bridge this gap of what is marketing versus what is business versus operations. Being informed will help you. It doesn't matter what we're talking about here, finances, marketing, operations, the gamut. By being informed, you can make better decisions. Asking questions is a great way to become better informed.
Exactly. Now, where does creativity fit into all this?
So that's my favorite part. Is it's one thing to be informed. There's the smartest guy in the room syndrome, that I know. But we said it a second ago, you have to do something with it. And a lot of times when we think of marketing, we're thinking about creativity. Whenever someone describes good marketing, they say, oh, that was a great commercial. It made me laugh, or it made me think, or or they think about an event that's so relevant to a brand, and like, God, that event I went to really made me feel like I understood the brand. I mean, we have these experiences that we consider creative.
And they're memorable.
They stick with you. They do their job. Creativity in marketing must have purpose. The example I always give with that is the commercial that you can think of that you go, that was a hilarious commercial. I don't remember what brand it was for. And we've all got that example that we could think of. And that's when creativity lost its function within the world of marketing.
Because it should make you remember the brand, right?
It must have utility, exactly. And the best way to do that is to start your creativity, start your inspiration process with insights from your audience. If you just are a really creative marketing person, you have a great idea, or you think it's a great idea, and there's a fine line between the two, what a lot of people do is they go out and test. They'll try an idea, and maybe it'll work, maybe it doesn't. And the maybe it works, maybe it doesn't problem comes in because it was your idea. But if you went out and talked to 10 of your real customers and they told you their problem and you figured out how to solve it, and that becomes your creative marketing idea. Now it's not your idea, that's their idea. That's going to work. There's no question in my mind that's going to work in marketing. It's not your assumption. It was 10 real customers or a survey, 400 of your real customers helped you come up with this clever tagline or develop this event or told us we needed to pitch this news source because that's who they are. And so the point of creativity in this is it's meant to inspire. Insights are meant to inspire creativity, but focused. So you're not just coming up with ideas for the sake of ideas, you're coming up with ideas because that's what they said they want. And I can fix that problem for them. I can create the experience they want, and that's marketing. I mean, that's great marketing right there.
That is great marketing. That's great marketing. Now, some people confuse marketing with sales. And so very often we hear about this person has, or this company has a sales and marketing department, but we don't realize they're not one and the same, are they?
They're very different. They should work together, though. So there's the point of marketing, in my mind, is to make sales job as easy as possible. You think it's the traditional salesperson and the stereotype, they're cold calling. Well, why are they cold calling? They're cold calling because marketing hasn't done a good enough job for people to even know the name of the company. Hi, I'm with Acme Corp, and the person on the other line says, who? That's marketing's fault. It should be, hi, I'm Matt with Acme Corp, and they go, I've heard of you guys. That was marketing's job. Because anyone in sales will already know the person who knows you versus they don't know you, the knows you is going to be a way better conversation. And that was marketing's job. They work so important together. There's a definition I give for marketing all the time. I give this at college presentations where whenever a buyer and a seller come together, I mean, literally, if you picture that, a person comes up to a guy selling cheeseburgers. Most of my examples have to do with food, by the way.
I like food.
I'm a big fan of food. But a guy, the second the buyer and the seller meet, they've created what's called a market. I mean, that's classical economics. We're going back. But you think about that, bringing a buyer and seller together, that's marketing's job, to create markets. But that definition, and I've thought about this for a long time, especially to your sales point, never takes away the importance of the salesman in that. If sales wasn't relevant to this conversation, we would just be bringing together buyers and products or buyers and services, but we're not. We're bringing together buyers and sellers. We need to make sure that the seller has as much information, is in the most advantageous position, and really is talking to someone who wants their services, and we've done our due diligence as marketers for the salesperson. And sales can run a gamut because sales might be something very B2B, where we're selling retainer legal services. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're never going to sell retainer legal services without sales. You need a sales component there. You need a person or even a robot or something talking to another person about the sales component. Marketing brings them to that. But sales isn't going anywhere. But separately, let's go back to our cheeseburger example. We tend to think of someone comes in and they walk right up to the cash register, and the guy at the cash register says, what do you want? It says, I want a cheeseburger, and they get the cheeseburger. The person at the cash register is facilitating that sale. We may think of it as an easier sell. That person could just as easily screw up the sale or upsell, as we've seen. Remember, McDonald's made millions of extra dollars by adding the words, would you like to supersize that?
Yes.
And that was strategic. That was a strategic sales tactic, in fact. But in both of those examples, be it law firm, be it very B2B, versus just selling a cheeseburger, both of those sales is still very relevant to that conversation. But so is marketing, to bring together the buyer and the seller.
Right. That's so important. So what is a strategy, and how, if I'm a small business person, how do I have one so that I can get my business promoted properly? So
there's an old thing years and years ago that you had to see an ad 3 times and you were ready to buy. If I saw 3 ads for a stove and they were all from Sears, I knew the second my stove broke, I'm going to go to Sears. We're going back to like the 1910s for this kind of. Eventually, I think in the 1930s or 40s, they did another study and they said it was 7 times.
Yes, I remember.
We now see more than 100,000 ads every day.
Wow.
We just do, and you tend to not think about it, but that's everything when you log onto Facebook, to the literal ads, to the your friend saying, hey, I just ate at McDonald's and it was great, or it was terrible. Both of those are ads. We're blind to it. So strategy is the answer to that. And I'll give you an example. If I see a billboard for a cheeseburger, and it's something I've never heard of, I'm not going to buy a cheeseburger. I simply can't. I cannot walk up to the billboard and buy it. I can't pull my car over on the freeway. But what is that billboard doing? Well, it's putting the very top of the funnel mindset in my head of this cheeseburger exists. And you'd think, okay, well, why do we even waste our time with that? Why don't we just have the cheeseburger at our storefront? And we do. But if I don't know it's there, I will never go there. A strategy is the journey. It's the point of, okay, do I tell them at the very beginning of their journey, before they even know my cheeseburger exists, do I tell them about it on the radio, or do I tell them on a billboard? Do I do it through an email campaign, or do I do it through targeted social media? How do I start the conversation? And then every single thing that I mentioned just now, none of those can sell me a cheeseburger. Because again, I can't buy a cheeseburger on an email. I can't do it from billboard or radio. So what happens next? Do we now tell them, come in and there's 50% off the cheeseburger if you buy two? And then do we time that around lunchtime or dinner time? Or should we time it more like 10:30, about an hour and a half before lunch when they're thinking about it? And remember, we probably shouldn't tell them about 50% off the burger until we first told them that the burger exists. So between everything I'm talking about, you're starting to think about this journey of awareness to interest to action. Separately, let's go back to our B2B example. And I share this all the time with sales presentations too. Let's say you go to a networking event and you want to sell your retainer legal services. We'll use that example still. I almost guarantee, I'll put a 99% on this. I don't care what networking event you're in, you will not sell retainer legal services to anyone in the room that day.
No.
I mean, it's not how we do business. I meet someone and, I need these services, let's sign up right now. So if we know that, if we know from the very get-go, I will not sell these people, okay, what can I get them to do? Could I get them to take my business card? Could I get them to give me their email address and I'll sign them up for a newsletter? If I host a webinar next month on the importance of retainer legal services, and I say, hey, would you like to come? Would they come? And then you start to think again, if I know for a fact I can't sell them, but I can get them to do something, what is the something that is most advantageous to that journey? And again, I mentioned a webinar, which is a great middle of the funnel kind of get someone interested in your services, more importantly, get someone to understand your thinking and your personality. Maybe they still aren't ready for that, to sign up for that, but that's a very important piece. So maybe again, it's just signing someone up for an email. Or maybe it's, hey, we should do lunch or coffee next week. You start to take someone to one-on-one. You really start to think about the journey. And at the end of that journey, it should be a sale with appropriate points for people to leave the funnel because they weren't your ideal fit. They weren't the perfect customer for you. And you really do want to be working with people that you're going to be solving problems that they're going to appreciate. But again, think of it as a journey. As someone has a problem, they may not even be aware they have a problem. And it's still up to me to start the conversation. And then to get them to think about the problem and to think about my solution. And again, we'll use our two examples. The solution might be retainer legal services, or it might be that you're going to be hungry eventually and need a burger.
Yeah, amazing. So tell us a little bit about your book. I love your book. I read it.
I am so honored.
But
Thank you.
I want my audience to read it because it really is brilliant. It's, you know what? It's written in a way that I think just anyone could understand it. I think sometimes the problem with marketing is the individual thinks it's such a big concept we may not be able to get it. And your book it makes it really simple for us to understand.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I really appreciate it.
The book was a neat project. It started as a blog article and COVID actually made that sit back. Someone gave me a great writing opportunity. I started writing, and then the opportunity just went away for a little while. So I kept writing, and it turned into a book, talking to family and friends about where I was, and I kept focusing on this thing that I just wanted to get on paper. But its purpose, well, it serves two purposes. One is I love stories, and I really love marketing stories. They're a great way to make things stick. Lessons stick. One of my favorite authors, Robert Greene,
Yes.
I mean, he talks about life and strategy in life and growth, and he does that by illustrating stories of Napoleon, George Washington, really historical stories of figures and how they used whatever lesson he's talking about. So I wrote in the same genre, but about marketing. There's a great story in there, one of my favorites that I tell frequently, about Old Spice, the deodorant company. And in like 2005 and 2006, they were noticing a dip in sales. And this is relevant. I'm an Old Spice guy. That's actually what a lot of people call themselves. Like, I'm an Old Spice guy. I use Old Spice. But here they are. They're losing sales. This is a brand that makes deodorant for men.
They've been around forever.
Forever. And what they found out is that in 2006, 2007, it wasn't always men buying men's deodorant. And my wife laughs every time I tell this story, but she understands why it is. It's because I'm not the one doing the shopping. And so no matter how much I'm an Old Spice guy, however much, we call that brand affinity. I'm a raving fan, and we would even just describe that. These are terms. None of that matters because I'm not the one making the purchase decision. And so you go back to 2008, and Old Spice actually launched a whole campaign targeting women. The first commercial has Isaiah Mustafa step right out of the shower, and he looks right at the camera and he says, "Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me." And first off, that video became the most shared video on YouTube in YouTube's history at the time. Granted, this was 2008, newer service, but still, that's a pretty amazing feat. It was shared by women. But the big thing is that in a year, Old Spice doubled their sales. And you think doubled, that's amazing. Well, doubled makes sense when you had two audiences and one of them you were never talking to before. And that's the power of, again, strategy and thinking through the research questions. But I say that because that's a great example of the fact that you might have multiple audiences. And that's a concept deep in marketing called market segmentation. And a lot of people have trouble understanding that. But they understand the Old Spice story. And that's the kind of thing I want brands and companies to be thinking about. And that was the whole point of writing the book, was to be able to take my thinking of marketing and market research, which is very backed on, I got to ask the right questions, answer them, and do something with the answers, but reformatting that whole concept in a way that you come away with stories that you remember, stories you're probably going to tell at parties, because there's some pretty funny ones in there, and some moving ones. And they're all real. They're all real examples of brands who said, okay, we asked some great questions, or we didn't ask a great question and we screwed up. And both of those you take lessons from that I really hope any business could do something with.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, I really enjoyed the book. Matt, would you tell our viewers how they could get a copy of the book, how they could reach you, how they can get to know more about you?
Absolutely.
If you could do that, we'd really appreciate it.
So the book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. On both of those, you go to or you simply search The Creative Catalyst. It should be the first one. It's a big purple book. My mom always encourages my writing, and her favorite color is purple. So,
that's
exactly why the book is purple. Yeah, and there's a hardcover, a softcover, a Kindle version. It's free on Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, that's the best way to find the book. I would be honored, by the way, if anyone reads it, to leave a review. That's just neat for me. Separately, my business is S2 Research, so that's S like Sam, number 2, research.com. You can find my contact information there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter a little bit, Instagram, LinkedIn.
You're kind of all over.
Well, I work in marketing. I feel like I should cover the bases. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful to have you here today.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And I know that the people are going to run out and get this book because it really is good. And if you have a small business, I would highly recommend it because I read it through and I got so many great ideas on things that I could do for our business, even right here at the TV station. So thank you for being here, and I hope we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thank you. I appreciate this. I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again one day real soon.